Well, we just finished watching the Indians take out the Red Sox, get a series win, 2 wins over one loss. It was a 14-9 win tonight, a crazy one, scoring 14, trying to give up that lead in the late innings, but they got a steady hand out of the bullpen, and the Indians pull out the victory in Boston. Try and give those Boston fans something that isn't going their way these days. But it's been a lot of doom and gloom. Should we make changes? Paired with, the Indians aren't too bad. They're still winning games, but they've still lost 7 of their last 11, and there are questions arising of, do the Indians do anything with their lineup? Do they make any trades? Do they make any moves? I even saw something on Twitter, someone questioning whether we should get rid of Tito Francona. It's a little crazy there to get rid of Tito, but what do you guys think about moves, and do you remain steady with your faith in the Indians this season, even though this team is just in second place? Eric, let's go to you here first. Are you still feeling positive?
I guess, first of all, I had not heard that about getting rid of Francona. Whoever said that needs to be fired immediately. That was just an asinine take, and I can't believe somebody actually said that.
Banned from Twitter.
Yeah, banned.
Yeah, fire that fan.
I thought you said it was like a guy actually.
It was a guy, yeah.
It was a guy higher up. Fan, get that guy out of here. I mean, they're about a little worse than what I expected. They're slightly above 500. They were entering tonight a game and a half out of the wild card with 100 million games still to play. So, we're not completely out of it. The issue is I don't think they have any chance in HE double hockey sticks that they are going to win the World Series or even get very deep in the playoffs. So, they can ride this out, kind of see what's going to happen the rest of the season. They might make the wild card, and it would be a stretch. A lot of breaks would have to go their way to somehow overtake Minnesota for the division. Obviously, they're going to get Kluber and Clevenger back, hopefully, at some point in the near future. I'd like to see where they're at, I guess, to try to help them with some sort of playoff push. So I guess to answer your question, long story short, I don't see them, turning in their cards and giving up on this season already. But, I'd be okay with taking some minor guys that could, possibly help the team down the road. I don't want to mortgage the future because right now they don't seem to have the roster that, presently constructed that can do damage in the playoffs. And unfortunately, we let a couple guys go who could have helped us in that situation. So, I guess I would just say, ride this out, see where we're at at the end of the season. And if we have to, make some moves afterwards, we'll decide that then, because that seems to be the hot time. The other thing is that we have the All-Star game. I don't want them to fire sale or get rid of guys before. I like to see the fans. This is the first time in 22 years we're going to have the All-Star game at our Progressive Field, the Jake back then. I like to see at least Francisco Lindor, somebody on the team that can, give the fans some excitement, even if it's a underperforming team in this league or this season.
Drew, what do you think? Is the wild card the best result here, or you still have confidence in chasing down the Twins?
Yeah, I think that the Twins are a very catchable, franchise. If you would have told me before the season starts, do you have to Coco beware of the Minnesota Twins, I would have said no. I would have said that this was a bad team last year and it's a bad team this year, but they're not. They're way outperforming what I think their talent sort of cap is, and I think that they will come back down to earth here in the not too distant future, hopefully. So I think that they can get this thing back to maybe 5 games out by the All-Star break, and then into July and August and September. I think they can catch them. I think that is probably the more likely scenario Their pitching staff is still a top 5, staff. It's a 3.86 team ERA. They've committed the 4th fewest errors in the American League. So they're close. They're a little over 500. They just picked up a series win in Boston, and they are now officially the last team of the 2019 season to get off the schneid and record their first triple of the year. Fun fact.
Eric brings up a pretty good point, talking about the All-Star game and who's going to represent the Indians in the All-Star game. I think all of us had much higher estimates. Are we going to have 4 guys, 5 guys, maybe even 3 guys at the very worst?
Yeah.
Who is the top guy for the Indians? Eric, we'll go to you since you brought this up.
Well,
who is that top guy, or can we even get to?
It seems like the top guy right now is Carlos Santana, because the position that he's playing. He has cooled off a bit, but I think he should be able to make the All-Star roster. Jose's missed some time. Jose. Francisco
not
has missed some time. No, not Jose. Francisco has missed some games, so he's gonna have to tear the cover off the ball the next month or so, probably, to get a pretty good shot at making the All-Star team. Other than that, Brad Hand, maybe, if he records a lot of saves, I guess.
Yeah, you stole my answer there. That's my answer.
That's about it.
I think Brad Hand has the 2nd or 3rd most saves in the American League. He just picked up another one tonight because they walked the bases loaded before they turned it over to him in a 5-run game. But I think it's certainly not what we hoped for. We hoped for shortstop, third base, starting pitcher, closer. We had all these high hopes, and it looks right now like none of those starting pitchers are going to come through. Bauer maybe, but he's got to be a lot better than he's been his last couple starts. And outside of that, I think Brad Hand is my answer right now.
Let's move on to another thing that we're being left out on for the first time in the last 4 years. That's the NBA Finals. The Warriors are going to face the Raptors here. And then also want to give a shout out, or our thoughts here to Dan Gilbert. You never know what he's going through with this stroke. Gosh, sort of as a side story, I just watched a UFC special on Matt Hughes, and they did like a special of him after he got hit by a train, and just sort of his recovery through that entire period, and just how close to death that he was, and how little any of us know that on the outside. I think there was some reports that he was in really bad shape, but then when you see the video, the people that are going through that situation is just incredibly scary. So even though I think with Dan Gilbert here, there's press releases that don't make it sound that bad, but you just hope that it isn't that bad, and that he did have that that help that was really fast and was able to avoid anything. But it's a scary situation. You hope that he is gonna be all right here. So we give our thoughts out to Dan Gilbert and his family. But going back to the finals and the Cavs not being a part of those finals, do you think the Raptors are going to give any more of a challenge than the Cavs have these past couple of or these past 4 NBA finals? Drew, do you think there's Raptors are going to be a tall task?
I don't know if I call it a tall task, but I think that they win a game at least. I look at it, and the analogy I sort of came up with was they're a lot like another decent squad from Canada. Of course, I'm talking about the Hart Foundation. Obviously, Kawhi is the Brett Hitman Hart of this group, but you have Kyle Lowry as Davey Boy Smith. You've got Pascal Siakam. He's probably the Jim the Anvil Neinhardt of this. Gasol. He could maybe be your bruiser, maybe your Owen Hart type of a guy. So, I look at it that they have more help than LeBron had. He had Kevin Love, and beyond that, you were really stretching to come up with somebody that would be thought of as a high quality NBA type talent on the roster. They had some decent players. I think Cleveland gets a bad rap in terms of not being able to surround LeBron at all. But this Toronto team, from 3, 4, 5, 6, much deeper, much more talented than the Cavs team was. Of course, they don't have LeBron James, so I don't think they have much of a shot of winning. But I do think they win a game, and I think it's certainly within the realm of possibility that they win 2. Right now, I have it as Golden State in 5, and I think Toronto wins Game 4 pretty handily.
All right, a gentleman's sweep. It has been funny to see a lot of the coverage and people saying the Raptors have no one but Kawhi. That's the exact same thing that they said about the Cavs.
Exact same thing.
And I would get so mad about that. And we have so many, great shooters. We had JR, we had Korver, we had some good pieces. We had Double T. We had lots of good players around him, and we played well as a team. But now it's just like, okay, fine. You can do the same thing. Say, oh, they only have Kawhi, and they have a bunch of scrubs, and we don't even know who he's playing with. Even though that's not the truth with the Raptors either.
True. It's just not. No.
But Eric, do you think the Raptors, collective unit or one-man team, are they going to give them a chance, especially with Durant? I don't know if he's going to play. Do you think this series is going to be close?
Well, the Durant not playing would help lead I also agree with Drew, the 5-game series. The Warriors in 5, obviously, not the Raptors. Kawhi's been great. Kawhi's been very good to great in these playoffs. Marcus Hall's been gritty, gutty under the hoop, and I like seeing that. Personally, as a white, unathletic basketball player. Kyle Lowry, he's been doing his thing, and you got
the first 2 things right: white and unathletic. Anybody can fool us for basketball players, so.
And you got Drake on the sideline, who he's you never know what he's gonna bring to the table.
Annoying.
Got that advantage.
So annoying. Yeah.
But what they're probably gonna have to rely on is the Warriors going cold one day. Assuming also it's one of the games that Durant's not playing as well. I mean, if Curry is hitting on all cylinders or Clay's hitting on all cylinders, it's probably a good night for that game. But, there's so many opportunities in this series that one game they're not going to be able to win. So I think, something's not going to work out for them, and the Raptors are going to pull one out. I think they're going to split the first 2, and then the Warriors will win in the final 3. They just have the more talented. I will give them that. I will not go the lazy take, as you guys had referenced, to say, oh, they have nobody good on their team. It's Kawhi Leonard, a bunch of scrubs. That's not true, obviously, as we discussed. But, I mean, the Warriors have a tremendous amount of scorers and shooters who can distribute, facilitate, score if you want down low, or if you want from the three-point line. I mean, wherever you want it. I haven't watched enough Raptors basketball to say that they can match up at, you pick the position 1 through 5, but I think they could do a little bit of damage to keep things close. The other thing is that I think I had heard that 3 of the 4 games, granted they won all 4, 3 of the 4 games, the Warriors were down over 15 points in the second half against Portland. Like I said, they won them all, but they're not infallible where they're going to be up by 20, 25 every single minute of every single game. So, right. Maybe perhaps they just fall behind too much and just kind of mail it in. So that's another opportunity. God willing, they at least go to 6, but I think it's going to be the Warriors in 5.
Toronto did win both games that they played here. Toronto 2, Golden State 0. So, in theory, they know how to play against them. They know how to beat them because they've done it twice. So I'm excited to see it. Certainly rooting for Toronto. They're certainly going to be the underdog, but I'm hoping that it's a competitive series.
This will be one of the few times I'll be rooting for Drake's team.
Absolutely.
One of his 35 different teams.
Yeah. Did you know Drake has tattoos of Steph Curry and Klay Thompson on his arm? So whatever.
Hey, if Drake wants to join another bandwagon, the Cleveland Browns are going to be accepting a lot of riders next season.
No.
It is once again time for the final promo, and we're definitely going to have on this episode 316, season 3, episode 16, we're going to have a wrestling reference to Stone Cold Steve Austin. I think I prematurely wore my Stone Cold shirt last week. I wasn't thinking ahead that we had episode 316 this week. But there was a couple things in the news. I saw that Stone Cold is actually going to have his own show that he's coming up with. It's going to be called Straight Up Steve Austin. It's going to be released in August. And I saw that Baker Mayfield is going to be one of his guests. So an incredible pairing of those two.
Absolutely.
I think when Stone Cold visited the Browns, Kevin Love was out of town. So no love on the Steve Austin interview show. But my question is inspired by the Doc Rivers comments about Kawhi and LeBron James. His quote that everyone has been talking about today is that Kawhi is the most like Jordan we've seen. Not exactly saying Kawhi is Michael Jordan, but he plays like Michael Jordan. So my question for this final promo is Baker the most like Stone Cold we've ever seen on the football field? Drew, what do you think?
Is it just the football field, or is it all Cleveland athletics?
Well, I was thinking just the football field, but you take it. You cut a promo wherever you deem necessary here.
If I get to go to all of Cleveland athletics, that answer is hell no. The answer is LeBron James. There's only one person that I would feel comfortable having the glass shatter, and this person walks out, and to me, that answer is LeBron James. This is not in any way, shape, or form a knock against Baker Mayfield. I happen to think he's a little more like, if I had to find a late '90s reference, I'd say he's more like The Rock, in that he's the most electrifying entertainer that we've had here in Cleveland in quite some time, maybe outside of LeBron, but I've already made that parallel. So I'll take LeBron when I close my eyes and I hear the glass shatter and I'll picture a Cleveland athlete walking out. The person I picture will probably for forever be LeBron James.
Eric, what do you think? I guess from a Cleveland perspective, is Baker the most like Stone Cold we've seen?
Well, that's funny because I actually had in my my preparation that were we going NFL or not. But you know what? Drew brought up some good points, but I'm still going to argue it. I'm going to say yes, he is. I was going to say for the NFL, he's from Texas, and so is Stone Cold Steve Austin. I can definitely picture Baker Mayfield standing in the corner ropes with 2 cans of beers, down his gullet, pushing them together. He doesn't care what other people say about him or other people think, unless it's somebody who says it over and over again. Then he's going to fire back at him, and if he has an issue, he's going to let you know about it. Again, we're not going to talk about that person. So, it's really hard to argue that aspect of Baker Mayfield. I think he's got a wrestler mentality. He's confident about himself. He's willing to tell you about himself, how great he is, and how much better he is than you. And, I love that confidence about him and the swagger and, 316.
Heel Browns are going to be the best Browns of our lives. When this team turns heel, it's going to be awesome.
And for everyone in Cleveland, it's going to be the heels that you love. and that's the bottom line because Baker Mayfield said so. All right. I agree with Eric. I think with all the hand gestures that Baker has shown off in both his college and professional career, I think he matches Stone Cold there. LeBron wasn't the one to yell at opposing coaches or maybe even his own coach in public. Maybe that's going on behind scenes, but
he walked out, kicked him in the stomach, hit him with a stunner, and walked out. That's what LeBron James did.
All right, so episode 316 is in the books. Thank you guys for joining, and we'll keep watching the Indians, see if they can put together an actual winning streak as opposed to a losing streak here. And
nice.
Go Tribe. Talk to you guys next week.